Thank you so much for joining me at my home here in Toronto, Canada. I'm so happy to be participating in this Tijuana is the Future conference. Thank you for having me. In preparing for this presentation, I was reflecting back on my life from MAC and the MAC AIDS Fund to my current passion, our Family Foundation's YPI program, the Youth and Philanthropy Initiative. I realize how important it is that I have been surrounded and supported by people who possess extremely strong values. In each of the events that I'll share with you today, you will hear how our values were forged and our commitment to those values were tested. You'll see as my story unfolds that each time we pursued our values, we were also open to the business lessons that followed. Today, I suggest that while you apply any learned business lessons, you always remain tethered to your values. The development of my values is tethered to the journey of my mom and dad to Canada. My parents arrived in Canada by ship over 60 years ago. They came to Canada with their one suitcase and 7-year-old son in tow. They came looking for a better life, for greater personal freedom, and for security. It was an opportunity extended by the Canadian government, but they had to pay the government back. So a week after arriving in Halifax, they found themselves working on a beet farm in Alberta. They lived in a one-room hut situated alongside the field where they worked, and at night slept on simple beds made of corn husks. They didn't speak the language, they had no family close by, and were isolated on a farm in a country they'd never been to before. It's amazing that even today, as my mom shares these stories with me, it's never with a woe is me. It's just in a very matter-of-fact way that these are some of the struggles and challenges they had to deal with. So they stayed on that farm in Alberta until they could pay the Canadian government back and move forward. 6 months after arriving in Canada, their debt repaid, they took a train from Alberta to Toronto, where some of their friends from back home had settled. They found their way to a church known to help immigrants settle into their new lives. The church helped my dad find a job in construction, and my mom a reduced rate room in a boarding house because my mom agreed to clean the rooms of all of the tenants. Over time and with a lot of hard work, my mom and dad were able to provide comfortably for our family. My mom became a housekeeper, and my dad worked in construction throughout his entire life. To this day, I still love the smell of concrete at a new construction site. Both my parents instilled in us the importance of hard work, the value of humility, the pride of building something new, and the satisfaction of accomplishment. Fast forward to the mid-'80s and the brilliant idea of my brother Frank, that little boy who arrived here in Halifax, suitcase in hand, as a 7-year-old. My brother and his partner, Frank and Frank, as we referred to them, noticed a void in the marketplace and had an idea of how they'd fill it. That idea became MAC Cosmetics. I had just graduated high school and jumped at the opportunity to work with Frank and Frank to help them launch this dream. When we started MAC, we were young and eager and willing to take on anything. We had little money and worked for next to nothing. My parents took out a mortgage on their home, the home they'd worked all of those years to be able to afford, but they took out a loan to help keep this new startup idea afloat. We started with nothing but the Frank's vision, and most importantly, a strong set of values. In a few short whirlwind years, MAC became one of the most successful cosmetic companies in the world. People thought we were brilliant and innovative marketers, but really it was our unwavering commitment to our values that drove our success. Virtually none of our business decisions were informed by focus groups or competitive analysis. Instead, it was a small team of us connected to our staff, our customers, and the larger community, challenging ourselves with the simple question, what is the right thing to do? As an example, my brother Frank hated seeing makeup artists, who were our only customers at first, spend so much of their money on product, and he wanted to give them a price break. So when we started Mac Pro, now with over 150,000 industry professionals subscribed, we offered a discount to makeup artists who needed to buy products in large quantities to perform their craft. No one debated it. We didn't think, ooh, is this going to cut into our profits? Actually, what we didn't anticipate was how dramatically it would increase our sales. This taught us the power of understanding and meeting customer needs. This served us well and prepared us for what happened next. The clients of Mac Pro started asking for the products the artists were using. So we decided to not make it specifically for makeup artists. We decided that we would start allowing them to sell products for us to their clients. So this is what was our first step from dealing with professionals only into the retail market. When we came up with the idea for Back to Mac, a recycling program where customers return 6 empty pieces of plastic packaging and get a free lipstick of their choice in return, we were just looking to reduce the amount of waste Mac produced. We knew that having packaging shipped back to us in Toronto from locations throughout North America wasn't going to be cheap, but we didn't care. Given the current popularity of going green as a marketing tactic for companies, you'd think we did it to drive sales. The fact is, to this day, I can't confirm whether or not it drives sales. We didn't care. Getting that product back to us for us to recycle it properly was just the right thing to do. This taught us about brand leadership. We had the power and the means to inspire other people to consciously act in a way they didn't yet know they cared about. At Mac, our counter artists were not commissioned. We believed that our staff should not be expected to sell with a quota over their heads. We wanted all suggestions they made to customers, all recommendations, to be completely pure and to be made only in the best interest of the customer. We encouraged them to try makeup on customers and asked them to walk around the mall and make sure they truly felt good with their buying decision before making it. So we actually encouraged customers to leave the counter after an artist had spent a lot of time with them, just to ensure they really loved the product before they made the purchase. And I think that really showed our authenticity, and our customers loved it. At that time also, staff at makeup counters within department stores were encouraged to cross-sell, and actually I believe many still are. But we wanted only Mac staff to work the Mac counters. We invested a lot on product knowledge training and makeup artistry development, and it was important that anyone behind our counters had the skill set necessary to represent our product in the best way possible. We wanted everyone working at our counter really, really thoroughly trained and thoroughly knowledgeable in Mac products. So we encouraged the department stores to allow us to have only Mac staff working at the Mac counters and not have people from the other counters coming to sell at Mac, because we were concerned that they wouldn't have the knowledge necessary. In our early years, we struggled with department stores to allow our staff to wear black behind our counter. Black was then not a color that was seen on the cosmetics department floor. It's funny now because you walk into a cosmetics department and a lot of people are wearing black. When we started, no one was. As a matter of fact, it wasn't allowed. Our first ever retail counter was started here in Canada in an out-of-the-way corner of a department store. A wonderful cosmetics buyer had agreed to give MAC, this local Canadian cosmetics company, a chance. But because we had no track record, no history, and this was our first ever experience with retail, he found a spot for us in the basement of the store beside the men's room. So we weren't in the cosmetics department, we were in the basement of this department store by the men's room. But our counter there did so well, so quickly, that we were soon offered a position within the cosmetics department on the main floor. There was, however, a bit of a problem. We were told our staff could not wear black. Now, black was a color chosen by Frank & Frank because it worked well with our displayers. All of our color palettes popped against it, and it was very easy for our staff to look like a team and still be able to express their creative freedom through their own individual clothing options. So the only restriction to our staff is that they wore black. They could wear whatever they wanted, however they wanted. And them wearing black behind the counter really made them look like a team. Fortunately for us, the buyer at that department store understood, and he allowed our staff the freedom to wear black in that cosmetics department. Quite honestly, I'm not sure he thought we were going to be around for very long. Well, we were, and we still are. When we introduced the MAC AIDS Fund and its Viva Glam campaign, it was at a time when most people still thought of HIV/AIDS as a gay man's disease. Our goal at the time was simple but unshakable. We wanted to create an awareness of the disease so that it got the attention, research, and funding for a cure that people afflicted with it deserved. We wanted to save lives through the power of real information. We wanted to educate the public and eliminate the shadows in which people with the disease were forced to hide. We wanted communities to be supportive and for people to be included, not excluded. At the time, many of our retailers couldn't understand why we'd want to give so much support to an issue that most people believed was exclusive to the gay community. And I'm pretty sure that the first Viva Glam campaign, fronted by the vivacious drag queen RuPaul, didn't help matters. Here was a large black man in full drag, sporting a leather corset, red thigh-high boots, and a gorgeous face full of MAC makeup, selling a lipstick in which 100% of the proceeds would go to support people living with HIV and AIDS. At the time, it was shocking and probably quite alienating for many of our stakeholders, but in the years that followed, people expressed over and over again that they thought supporting AIDS through the sale of a lipstick was a brilliant marketing ploy. People thought that because we were the makeup of choice for the artistic and creative community, that the support for the fight against AIDS was a strategic play to reinforce our position in the market. Although this wasn't our angle, it did, in fact, do this for us. Brilliant marketing ploy was never our goal with Viva Glam. Our goal was to raise money and awareness for a disease that was not only claiming the lives of many, but creating a feeling of shame for their families and loved ones. Now, the key to the success of the MAC AIDS Fund was not only the money we were raising, it was the way we managed to engage our customers, our retail partners, and our staff. Our staff were involved in the selection of AIDS charities. They would determine where money raised at their counter in their cities would go. So they would visit AIDS organizations in their community, and they would make recommendations for where the money they raised at their counters should be donated, which was wonderful because we had people at the counters that were actually visiting AIDS organizations, meeting people with the needs. So when they went to talk to their customer about that Viva Glam lipstick, that product we were selling to make money for AIDS organizations, they could share a sincere experience with them, tell them about what they saw. what the people in those charitable organizations are experiencing and what they were going through. So our retail partners agreed to give up any money made on the sale of Viva Glam, and our customers bought the lipstick to support the cause, whether or not it was a color they would wear. What this taught us is that brands that stand passionately for something foster much deeper and stronger bonds of loyalty with their customers and their staff than those that don't. You may alienate people that are not in your target market, but then you may never be able to retain those people anyway. In truly living your values, you need to be prepared to accept consequences. Let me share with you an example of how that commitment was tested. Early one afternoon in our offices in Toronto, Frank and Frank got a very urgent call from one of our largest retail partners in the United States. They were calling with an issue, a concern, something they needed us to address immediately. Apparently, one of our male counter reps was wearing makeup. We didn't exactly understand what the problem was. Of course, our counter reps wore makeup whether they were male or female. As it turned out, male employees weren't allowed to wear makeup in these particular department stores. It was their store policy. Well, MAC is a product for all races, all sexes, and all ages. And there was no way we were going to ask one of our male employees not to wear makeup. So we respectfully suggested to our retail partner that they change their policy. They said they couldn't. At which point we told them that we were willing to pull our counter from their store. Now, this was $1 million counter in that particular store, but we would not compromise the importance of what we believed, and we meant it. They understood immediately, and fortunately for all of us, they backed down. We went on to have a successful and understanding relationship with them. So whether it's supporting an unpopular cause, taking a financial hit in order to reduce packaging waste, or standing up for our employees, we were prepared to accept the consequences of living by our values. That authenticity was understood, and people responded to it. With every Viva Glam lipstick sold, 100% of the selling price goes to support people affected and infected with AIDS. We didn't say 5% or a portion of, we were all in. That commitment, that willingness to go big, that is why the MAC AIDS Fund continues to be relevant today, and why, with the support of its customers and retail partners around the world, MAC Cosmetics has raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and it is currently the leading non-pharmaceutical corporate fundraiser for HIV/AIDS worldwide. Now, that same desire for authenticity is what led to the creation of YPI. We knew we were establishing a family foundation. We knew we were going to be granting to charity, but we felt the traditional approach of processing applications and check signing just wasn't right for us. I knew that we wouldn't be happy just sitting in our office signing checks to charities we knew little to nothing about. We wanted to invite others into the giving experience and give them the opportunity to develop and demonstrate their own values. In the same way that MAC tapped into a certain vibe, so do the young people involved in YPI. They have a real hunger to make a difference, and we give them the opportunity to discover early where their values may take them and how their values can impact the lives of others. This year, YPI is celebrating its 19th anniversary. 600,000 high school students have completed our entire curriculum across Canada, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and New York City. We have granted over $20 million to thousands of local community-based organizations that we may otherwise have never heard of. 100% decided by the informed and empowered choices of teenagers. YPI, the Youth in Philanthropy Initiative, engages a new generation with the social issues that are affecting their communities. It allows them to explore what matters to them and to develop their skills and use their talents in ways that the standard high school curriculum does not allow. It is giving them the opportunity to see that we are all part of the same world and that we have a responsibility to challenge racism and discrimination and to stand up for people who are vulnerable and be part of the ideas that make our communities better. Inspiring young people to engage with those less fortunate and involving them in the betterment of their local communities is something that I am incredibly passionate about. But one of my favorite outcomes of YPI is to see these young people discover their passion and strengthen their own values. My experience with MAC helped me realize what matters to me and how I can stay true to what I believe in, and we developed YPI to do the same for high school students. 19 years later, teachers, principals, students, parents, and charities tell us that YPI is a pivotal, transformational experience. Young people know that by staying true to their values, their contributions will matter. Living in accordance with your own values, living with integrity, is absolutely challenging, but it is ultimately more impactful and more rewarding than the alternative. Before I finish, I'd like to share one last story with you. This is me at 3. When I was growing up, my mom was a housekeeper for a very wealthy family that had kids similar in ages to me and my brothers. The cute little dress I'm wearing, that was a hand-me-down from that family. I can still bring up the excitement I felt when I knew my mom would be coming home with a trash bag full of hand-me-downs to go through. I could, to this day, pick out the exact color of that trash bag. Every time I wore something that was passed on to me, my mom would remind me, "Julie, be careful in that dress, because when you're done with it, you need to pass it on to another little girl." From an early age, I was taught to understand that all that we have, we are really just borrowing. The money we accumulate, the knowledge we acquire, the experiences we have are all meant to be shared. If we hold on to our money, our knowledge, our experiences, they hold no meaningful value. They only become valuable once we've shared them. The message that I've tried to share here today is the importance of discovering who you want to be and then determining what you want to be.
Thank you, Julie, for a very inspiring talk. I love the part about values. I think values are the most important thing in people's lives. I have some questions from the audience, and we'll only read 2 or 3 because time runs out. Given the state of things today, is philanthropy changing in a changing world? Are people really being as generous as they used to be? Or are they more questioning than they used to be? They really want to know where their money's going? That, I think, is a very interesting question.
Obviously, I think philanthropy is incredibly important. I think it's important for us personally. I think it's important for us as organizations, communities. We all need to be looking at how we can be more philanthropic. I think as far as donors go, donors are getting a lot, contributors in any way are getting a lot smarter about what people are doing. The world, as we've said for a long time now, is getting smaller and smaller, and I think that donors want to have a clearer understanding of where their money is going, what impact their money is having. So I think the charitable sector is, there is a little bit more pressure on the charitable sector to be very clear and transparent and authentic about what they're doing, which I think is a great thing. Thank you all so much for taking the time with me today. I wish I could have met you all in person. Enjoy the rest of the conference and stay healthy.